Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna, Intuitive Consulting. This month, I have the lovely Susan Reynolds back again to test the temperature and to tell you what's going on astrological wise while I tune in with remote viewing and my psychic mediumship. So welcome again, Susan. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to see you come from your perspective, I come from mine, and yet we always manage to meet in the middle.
It's really interesting how astrology and remote viewing can be used together because we're getting information from that big matrix. So, I mean, it's interesting to see how it pours in. And I got to tell you, April, May, June. Remember we talked about those months back in like January and December. We're like, okay, guys, just, bat down the hatches. We just got to make it until the spring, because that's when the energy changes. And I have to say, Susan, the energy has changed so much. It's insane.
Yeah.
But it still feels like the speed is speeding up. That's the constant over these last few months, is that time is speeding up. And it does feel like there's rapid changes around us. And so a couple of things that I want to talk about. Something I just mentioned right before I clicked record was I've made a prediction out there that our Prime Minister Trudeau would be out of office by the end of June 2024. We're coming into June. So I'm really crossing my fingers because when that intuitive hit came in, now keep in mind, you guys, it wasn't during a reading that I got that intuitive hit. I was driving, and sometimes driving, you can get the best information in the world. So I'm praying this wasn't just wishful thinking. I'm really praying it's not just wishful thinking, but I do have a feeling that there are more scandals that are going to be uncovered over these next 60 to 90 days. And I'm really praying that it comes out enough that that it triggers a new election, because stuff's got to change in Canada. It's pretty bad. It is. So I just wanted to publicly say that and cross my fingers that that prediction stands. We'll have to wait and see for next month, but I'm praying it wasn't just wishful thinking on my part.
As you're saying this, as you're bringing this up, I'm seeing like a mountain that starts to crumble, like an avalanche, but it starts with a few pebbles going down and then bigger rocks and then pieces of the mountain. So this is something like a slow moving avalanche that it's like once that crack opens up, you can't seal it back up again. And so like more and more starts, it's like you talk about a red car and then suddenly you go outside, you see red cars everywhere. It's like you can't unring that bell. That something's going to start in June with him. That has no way, I'm getting a correction. That has already started, but it's going to pick up speed in June. And it's like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It just keeps escalating to the point there's no return.
Honestly, he's a crime minister at this point. He's a crime minister. There has been so many scandals with him and his government that, I mean, it's got to be time that it's coming up. And, when I check the temperature of June, it's fire season. And now, keep in mind, we've already had a fire up in northern Alberta in Fort Mac. Fort Mac was hit really hard about, I think it was 6 or 8 years ago. They were burned. It was bad. And my niece actually was one of the people that were evacuated just not too long ago. And what was interesting is immediately Trudeau sits there and toots the horn of climate change, climate change, climate change. It was arson, but he's already been busted. They caught the guy who did it. So it really makes you wonder what is getting into people's heads, or who's paying them, or what's going on, right? Because we have to remember there's an Agenda 2030 here that we are very quickly moving towards, and 15-minute cities are part of that 2030 agenda. And so again, eyes wide open on what cities are burning and where, because it's so much easier in Canada to burn something down, knock it to the ground, blame it on Mother Nature, and then build something else that reflects our ideologies, right?
In the United States, we had those horrible fires on Maui in Florida. Yeah. That was only a few months ago. So we're right there with you.
And look what's happening. You watch what they build there. That was all private property. Now the government will come in, seize that, and build what they want to create there. The other thing that I found very, very interesting, okay, here's the other thing too, is that Bill Gates is, I believe now, the #1 farmland owner in the US.
Oh, really?
Oh yes, look that up. And you know, if you control the food sources, you control the people, right? And one of the things that I found very interesting is how many of your food factories are going up in flames.
Oh, I had not even thought about that.
It's all over the states. All of these, big food factories going up in flames, and it's arson. So why are they trying to manipulate the food supply? I want people to have their eyes wide open when it comes to big players like Bill Gates, because he's the one that's trying to feed us crickets, for Pete's sake, right? So
Bill Gates is a Scorpio, and Scorpios are deep, dark, and mysterious. They're master chess players because they're always like 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody else. So they know how to keep their cards close to their chest. So they've got that wooden face and they're not going to give away anything, but they've got a plan in their mind usually. Sometimes it's about how to get promoted and get to the top of their company. Sometimes it's something more along the lines of Bill Gates, but they're master manipulators. And that's the shadow side of Scorpio. The high side of Scorpio is that they can help you transform. They can help you lift up. They can help you change a life that is not working for you or fulfilling to you. And how do you change that into something else? And they can act as a catalyst for healing and help and so much positive stuff. So when I talk about the manipulation of Scorpio, it's not because I don't like Scorpios, because I love Scorpio energy. I got a ton of it in my own chart. But every sign has its high side and has its lower side. We all have our shadow side that we sometimes slip into, and we all have the higher side that we all kind of hope we reach for, but don't always get there. I will say, it's funny you're talking about the fires, because just this morning I was thinking about fire. But I wasn't thinking about this in terms of arson. I was thinking about this because Jupiter has just left the sign of Taurus. Well, actually, hasn't really done that yet. It does it on the 26th of May and moves into the sign of Gemini. Taurus, as an earth sign, think of the earth. It's moist and it's fertile. There's a wetness to the damp earth, but it's leaving that and it's moving into Gemini, which is an air sign. So you've got this very arid kind of dry energy. So I think we're going to see some droughts this summer, and that means arid land, droughts. Things can go up with just a spark. So yes, we may see arson, but we may see a careless camper start a forest fire that takes down hundreds of acres of good land. So be very, very careful, because I'm just like you, I see more fires this summer.
Well, and I think I don't just think it's fires, I think it's a fire energy as well, because I also saw volcanoes in that. Volcanoes erupting. So almost like acid indigestion coming up out of people, right? So when I see that, I honestly think that tempers are going to flare as well. People are going to be losing their crap a little easier, and not being able to hold it down so much. And that's an energy that's around in June. So people got to make sure, find your peace, stay in your own lane, make sure that you're not picking useless arguments, because it just feels extremely fiery, like tensions will be on the rise. That's what I picked up in June. So on a personal level, even on a physical level, it could be where you're dealing with massive indigestion and heartburn and, or even, stomach issues, but it's an energy. It's an energy that I can see in the volcanoes, in the wildfires, within a person's body. I can see how the energy is going to manifest, I guess is a better way to say it.
Well, with all these months and months and months of all this earth energy is very stable, very calm, very measured. But for the month of June, we're moving a lot into Gemini air energy. Not only is Jupiter going to be in Gemini, but the sun's going to be in Gemini, as you well know. You're right there on the cusp. And Venus is going to be in Gemini. And what else? Mercury is going to be in Gemini. So we're really moving into a lot of that. That's an air energy, and it's an energy of communication. When you're looking at Taurus energy, it's like, well, let me think about this. Let me give a measured response. Let me see how we could do. Air energy doesn't care. Air energy starts talking. Air energy starts saying, well, I think you're wrong, and I think this, and I think that. And so we just start spewing our thoughts, and there's not as much of a filter between what we're thinking and what we're saying. And so it just comes out. Now, it may come out in fabulous ways like, oh, I think you're beautiful, which is not a bad thing to come out and compliment somebody. But it may come out when you're talking to your boss and go, I think you're an idiot. You don't want that.
Yes.
So it's wonderful for communication, but you have to make it the right kind of communication.
Yes.
So we're going to be dealing with this in our personal lives, talking more, sharing more, all the technology. We're going to be on the computer more, on the phone more. If you've got teenagers, beef up your family plan or whatever on that phone, because let me tell you, they're going to be on the phone all summer. So do what you need to do in terms of technology and all the gadgets and the podcasts and the YouTube channels and everything else. But also think about this in terms of the news. Think about this in terms of the political systems, the different parties fighting each other, saying the quiet part out loud. This is what I think we're going to start to hear in both Canada and the United States. Some politicians standing up there giving a speech and saying something, and it's almost like blah, blah, blah. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that.
Yeah, that matches the energy of what I'm picking up.
Yeah. And on the one hand, it's kind of funny. Like you're looking at each other going, did they just say what I thought I heard?
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we're going to see some fancy backpedaling, like, no, you misunderstood, kind of thing. So we're going to see more truth coming out, but it may be blurted out in the heat of the moment or spontaneously, and this is in our personal life. This is in professional life. This is in the world. We may see world leaders saying something that we never expected to hear them say. There may be surprising announcements. There may be things that catch us off guard. Think about all the different ways we communicate.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember the joy of getting a letter in the mailbox, with a stamp and a handwritten address on there. I remember those days. Sometimes I want a letter, what I call good mail, to come in. But this is going to be busier. Things are starting to break open that have been stuck for months. And so just like in the last week, I've got a mini vacation planned for July. I've got another possible vacation planned for August or a possible one planned for September. Right. It's not even, deep into June yet, and I'm already going. So a lot of you are going to see the same thing. Your promotion was stalled. It was stuck. They're not going to promote anybody. Now it's open. Now you get the promotion. Things that you didn't think you could do this year, suddenly, I can do them. So I like this energy. It's freeing. We're starting to see things move that weren't moving before. And many times this can translate into us feeling like things are speeding up. Yeah. Like things are going faster because they were moving so slowly before. Now that stopgap, that block isn't there anymore. We're like, whoa, wait a minute, it's going too fast.
Well, the winter months were really slow, sluggish, heavy energy. I wouldn't be surprised if people even gained weight over the winter because it was that kind of a heavy universal energy. But that April, May, June, March, April, May, June, these months, and we're in it. We made it. Yay, guys, we made it. Because this is where the shift begins to take place in more of a positive way. So if there is things that even on a personal scale that are being unearthed in your life that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Just wait. I promise. If it's happening in this time frame, this is for the greater good. So whatever you do, just hold your peace. Find your peace in the moment. If you're going through something major in these few months, just know that this is the time where Spirit is telling you you're protected. It's for your greater good. These are changes that were supposed to take place a while back, but you didn't. So it's happening now, right? And I mean, it could be something even like a job loss. But did you love that job that you were in? Is it such a massive loss when you're staring at your watch for 8 hours a day going, oh God, when is it 5? Oh God, when is it 5? That's no way to live. You got to find your passion and your joy and your purpose, because your passion and your purpose, they're married. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. They'll chase the money thinking that that's the best way to make business. No, money is a currency. Currency is energy and frequency, right? It's all energy. So if you're hating what you're doing, it's never going to pay you what you're needing or what you're wanting, because it's going to match you every time, right? So if you have lost your job lately or you are changing careers, just know, take that freedom in stride and use it as a chance to recreate yourself, because it does feel like there's either going to be some layoffs or job loss as well. But like I said, enjoy the time that you have off. Don't spend it freaking out. That's not what it's about. It's about a chance to recreate yourself and come back really, really on top. So just know that that message was, I'm sure for a specific people or person that's watching this that just needed to know it's going to be okay. I promise you, the universe has your back.
Gemini energy is very restless. And so we may have more trouble concentrating. And especially if you have children at home trying to get them to do their homework, or teenagers trying to get them to concentrate on anything. At any time is difficult enough. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. So if you're talking with children, let them study one subject for 20 minutes, switch to something else for 20 minutes, switch to something else for 20 minutes. They will actually do better than trying to force them to study their history dates for an hour. They'll just get frustrated. You'll get frustrated. When I was in corporate America, and I worked in corporate America, the 9-to-5 cubicle, Monday through Friday for many, many years. And I never intended to become a professional astrologer. And then one day I walked into work on a Friday and I left my job.
Wow.
With no plan, no nothing, no money. I could feel my spirit guide's hand in the small of my back, moving me like it's time. And that day I left and I never went back. And don't think that I don't know what it is like to be jobless and scared.
Yeah.
But I will also tell you, and this is something my spiritual teacher told me, if you don't know where you belong, you know where you don't belong.
That's very
and
true.
Said, explore.
Yeah.
So I go here and it's like, oh no, I don't like that. That's not for me. And you go there and that's not for you. And you're starting to clear away the things that don't work for you. So you're starting to form what does work for you. So instead of thinking you have to know the answer, be open to exploring the options.
Great advice. Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to work a little better for you with the energy that's going on right now, because Gemini energy is like a whirlwind. It's like a tornado. It's all over the place. And so if you try to stop that, if you try to harness that, you're going to wear yourself out. But if you find a way to work with that, you're going to be much happier. Take it from me, you're going to be much happier, Yeah. The signs, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, these signs are fixed, meaning that these are the four, and I mean this is a great compliment, more stubborn than the other signs. They dig their little feet in, and by God, they've got a plan, and they're going like this. So if you're one of those signs, this may feel a little uncomfortable to you. And that's fine. It's okay. But it is also the time when you may start to think, oh, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could try that. So it's a wonderful time for putting your toe in the water and saying, oh, I wonder what that would be like. And instead of saying, oh, no, I couldn't do that. In a few weeks, I'm so counting down. I'm so excited about this. I will be turning 70. And a friend of mine and I are getting together in Asheville, and we're going to go ziplining. And so every decade, I try to do something to remind myself not to get stuck, not to put myself in a little box, to just try something different every decade. Right. And so I've been whitewater rafting, I've been hot air ballooning. This decade, it's going to be ziplining. It's a way of saying and reminding yourself, don't get stuck. Yeah. Don't put yourself in that box. And Gemini energy is wonderful for bringing new opportunities to us, for saying, let's look at something a little bit differently, even just talking about it. So you may have people talking about new ideas, talking sometimes about ideas you completely disagree with. Like they're completely conservative. If you're a liberal, it doesn't matter. It's about sharing, listening, not judging or getting angry. Remember, Venus is also going to be in Gemini in June. And Venus is love and peace and harmony. And so it's going to be an easier time the first couple of weeks of June to talk to that brother-in-law that absolutely disagrees with everything and thinks you're crazy kind of thing for listening to an astrologer or doing remote viewing. It's going to be easier to share ideas with people that maybe don't understand your thinking. So this first 2 weeks of June are powerful and positive for negotiation, for harmony, for coming together, for listening without judging. Very, very positive. And also in personal relationships. For partners that are maybe struggling to, you're over here and I'm over there, and how do we, come together kind of thing. These first couple of weeks of June are wonderful for saying, all right, let's work out a plan. How do we make this win-win for both of us instead of finger pointing? So I'm excited about this because, I love to talk. So June is going to be a wonderful month for giving lectures, giving talks, writing papers. I'm thinking about starting my own YouTube channel, kind of like you've got, Patricia.
Yes,
and
good.
Getting a new website and all the other stuff that's very Gemini ruled. So meditation, for those of you that meditate, it's going to be a little more challenging in May. Gemini, for me, is the hardest sign to meditate with because the mind is so quick and it's a mutable sign, always moving around. Somebody said Gemini energy is like a monkey on a cupcake. Like it doesn't settle down. It doesn't focus easily. Doesn't mean they're not super smart, but the mind is quick. And so meditating is a little bit more challenging. So be kind to yourself. If at night you can't fall asleep because you're thinking of all these things in your head, totally normal. If you're struggling to meditate, totally normal. Just remember to give yourself a little bit of a break. Just do what you can do. If you can only meditate for 5 minutes, meditate for 5 minutes. It's better than not doing it at all. And go ahead.
I was going to say, it's interesting that you say, there's disturbance around meditation because back, I think it was April 8th was the solar eclipse and then the 25th was the lunar eclipse, right? I felt some weird energy. I'm telling you, every time that sun went dark, it was like emotions came out of me and I didn't expect it. I didn't know. It was like, oh my God, I was crying because I watched it live on the NASA. And I think I talked about this last month. Well, the Aurora Borealis that just happened in Canada a couple weeks ago, there was an energy to that. Like I was sitting out underneath it with the roof down and just taking pictures. And, there's a pile of us out there until 2 a.m. doing it. And there was an energy to it. And I'm telling you, there's been some sort of shift in our reality since all of that went down, where it feels like when I go to even remote view into, we'll say, the fourth dimension, or it's so chaotic in there. It feels like a war zone in the fourth dimension. So I do expect meditation to be harder for people. Now, I got to tell you about this. So this was really interesting. The other night, I was sleeping and I had a dream and I could hear my guide right in my ear saying, tell them to pray. Wake up and tell them to pray. Tell them don't go to sleep without saying a prayer for God's armor to guide you, protect you, and surround you as you go out. Because there's a lot of spiritual attacks, psychic attacks that happen when you let your guard down and go to sleep, because that's exactly what you're doing. When you're going to sleep, you're letting go, right? And you can end up really in any sort of astral realm when you're sleeping or lucid dreaming or astral traveling. And so it really is important for everyone to be putting on the armor of God before you go to sleep. Say a prayer of protection, ask your angels to surround you and your consciousness. That's the big one, because it's your consciousness that's at war. And that's why people will feel more anxious or depressed and not necessarily know where it's coming from, right? And their mind will scan, oh, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? But it's none of those. It's the energy that they're feeling, that they're dipping into when they're going to sleep and then waking up and not realizing why they're waking up in a bad mood. And the thing is that a psychic attack can feel like, oh, you woke up totally on the wrong side of the bed. You wake up feeling nauseous or headachy or achy. It can make you feel like, wow, you're walking into a room, you can't remember why you're in there because your consciousness.
Oh, all the time.
So
I put that to age.
Oh, it could be that too, but it's also part of the symptoms that can happen because you're so distracted. It's like your consciousness is somewhere else, right? So how can you be paying attention to the now in the 3D if your consciousness is somewhere else, in a different dimension? So it can splinter you. I don't know how else to explain it, but I saw a lot of psychic attacks going on right now, and the energy, it's happening at a faster, more furious rate when people are sleeping. And so I'm dreaming this. And in my dream, I was trying to wake myself up, pull myself up out of the dream so that I could reach for my phone and write it on Facebook. Okay, guys, armor up. Definitely armor up before you go to sleep. But I couldn't pull myself awake to do that. So as soon as I woke up in the morning, I made that a post. For anybody who doesn't follow me on Facebook, put on the armor of God, because I'm telling you, stuff is happening in those astral planes, and think of how long it takes to manifest here, right? Where do ideas come from? Ideas come from up here, right? So if someone is, or the majority of people out there are in alignment with a crappy narrative that's bringing in crappy ideas, this is how war and this is how war happens. This is how arguments happen, and road rage happens, and abuse happens, right? It's the ideas that then become their actions and then become our reality. So here's the thing: if they're warring up here, I don't expect it to come down and be seen until about the end of the year or 2025, because ideas have to take form in the 3D in order for them to then become part of our reality, right? And so guard your consciousness. Make sure that you're staying in the now as much as humanly possible and aligning yourself with the highest, greatest stream of ideas that you possibly can. Do not listen to the shitty committee whatsoever, because it's going to be loud and in full force. That's what it feels like. But yet, it's the weirdest thing, because for the people who have stepped out of that, who have their, armor on, this can be the greatest next 3 months. It really can. It can be a fun ride. It can.
I have already noticed my dream life is picking up. Now, I kept a dream journal for decades and have done weekend workshops on dreams and love teaching about dreams. So something about that, just being in that dream state, just fills me with something. It just makes me feel good. It makes me feel connected. And one of the things that you can do before you go to bed, and I absolutely agree with you, Patricia, 100%, you should always be saying some kind of prayer before you go to bed, because you're going into an altered state and you're going into a vulnerable state. And so you want to be protected. And for many of you who maybe you have some bad feelings about having religion pushed on you, and you don't, want that kind of, Santa Claus, God image in your mind, surround yourself with light.
Yes.
Surround yourself with light. If that's a more generic term, make sure you're protected is what we're both saying. Make sure you're protected. And one of the things I sometimes do is right here where the third eye is, before I go to bed, I'll rub a little castor oil right there in the middle of my third eye. And it can often stimulate your dream life, and it helps the pineal gland. So it's a very simple and yet very positive thing to do. And you can buy castor oil like any drugstore. It's not expensive, I use castor oil on everything. There's like no place I won't throw castor oil on.
Well, I heard even putting it on your belly button and right underneath your belly button can help with a lot of things, because all the nerves in your body go meet up there.
And you can call on the Archangel Michael for protection, like Archangel Michael's sword of protection. the point is whatever feels right to you,
Yes.
whatever makes you feel safe and protected, but do that. Because when I pick up the earth feels churned up in these next few months. And, that's just the way it is right now. Whether we like it or don't like it, that's just the way it is. So we have to carry around our own peace. We have to find our own peace within. And one of the ways, as Patricia just mentioned, is by going into a time of prayer and protection at night. That helps us go into the right state of sleep and helps us access the right dream state. And one of the things I do in the morning is I greet the day with some kind of prayer, even something simple. If I know I'm having a particularly trying day that day, like, oh God, I'm slammed with work and I've got all these things I have to do, I'll make a special point of calling on my spirit guides and my angels. Be with me this day, that I may be guided with higher wisdom, that I may be surrounded in light, that I may be where I need to be when I need to be there. You're just helping yourself have a little bit of a better day. Yeah. So you want to make sure you're beginning your day with some kind of prayer or light, and you're ending your day with some kind of prayer or light. And yes, absolutely protecting yourself.
Yeah, I think it's super.
Now, I am going to mention, is it okay to change the subject a tiny bit?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make sure that people understood the new moon and the full moon for June. Because every month, as all of you know, we have a new moon and we have a full moon. And if you're on my mailing list, you get my free newsletter, which talks about the new moon and the full moon. But we get a new moon when the sun and the moon are sitting right next to each other in the same sign. That's a new moon. They come together. And new moons are wonderful for new endeavors, trying new things, moving in new directions, changing your thought patterns, exploring other ideas, other ways of doing things. So in June, if I remember correctly, our new moon is on June 6th. And so that's like the first week of June, we get a new moon. And so it like kicks off all the energy. But what I love is this new moon is going to be in Gemini, more Gemini energy. So it's going to make it difficult to concentrate, but much easier to move in new directions. So if you have felt like you're just stuck in a job you don't like, stuck in a relationship that's going nowhere, stuck in a place where your life just feels blah, this new moon around June 6th is a wonderful time to explore. Go down the street you've never done. Take up a new hobby. Remember, the influence of the new moon is going to last for 3 days before, up to 3 days after. I notice, and this is just for me, the energy usually feels a little bit stronger building up to the new moon. It's like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th feel a little stronger to me than the 7th, 8th, and 9th. But it could be different for other people. Some people react to the new moon more on the waning cycle than the waxing cycle. It's strictly up to you. But those days, even leading up to the new moon, can be exciting and fun and trying new things. So you may find yourself rushing and going and doing. And Gemini loves to multitask. Oh my God. When I'm reading for their minds are just like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting tired. Just sitting here next to you, like, calm down. But they can juggle everything. They can do 2 things at once. They can do 10 things at once. I can't. I'm not as good at the juggling as Gemini is, but they do this quite naturally. But they can also overprogram themselves. We say yes to everything, and then we're like, oh my God, I can't do this. And then you have to call up so-and-so and say, sorry, I can't pick up the airport, or you let somebody down and you feel bad. So just pace yourself around June 6th. Just don't say yes to everything. Pick and choose. But it's a wonderful energy for journaling, for talking to people, for sharing ideas, for having new bursts of inspiration. So we've got the sun and the moon both in Gemini. I mean, June is really shaping up to be very exciting in terms of our communication.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to tell you, Gemini is also about cars, automobiles, vehicles. If it moves or has tires, Gemini is involved with it. So this could be motorcycles. This could be, trucks. This could be, tractors. This could be all kinds of lawnmowers, riding lawnmowers kind of thing. Gemini likes things that go, and Gemini is impatient. So we want it now. We want to go fast.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but in the United States, I'm going to say follow the speed limit because you're going to tend to want to speed with all this Gemini energy. oh my God, I'm running late. I have to rush. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't fall for that because you'll be getting a ticket. So this is one of the things astrology says, don't step there. Don't do that.
Americans
So yes,
fast.
no matter what the speed limit is, they want to go faster.
Yeah.
It's a quick moving country. We don't want to stand still. We don't want to stop and think about it. It's a little too action oriented sometimes, but this Gemini moon can really push us to being a little too impulsive. So if you feel stuck someplace, it's a great moon to get you moving. But if you're moving just fine, it can push you into being a little bit too restless, too quick. So you may be the one saying something, oh my God, I can't believe that came out of my mouth. I have to apologize to them. They probably, think I was saying they were fat and I wasn't, So just be careful about your words, especially around the beginning of the month. But if you're asked to speak somewhere and give a talk, say yes. If you're asked to sing the solo at church, say yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful time to share your voice with other people. That's the new moon. We also have later in the month the full moon.
Yes.
Now the full moon is completely different than the new moon because the full moon happens when the sun and the moon are opposite each other and they're fighting each other. This is why we have more fights at full moons. This is why there's more aggression at full moons, because our inner feelings are highlighted and brought to the surface. So our normal polite, oh no, everything is fine. That doesn't bother me at all. That's gone.
Yeah.
And instead, it's like, you talking to me,
Yeah.
I'm going to punch you in the nose, you dumb kind of thing. It all comes up. And so sometimes we're not as in control as maybe we should be. We're not paying as attention. So this full moon on the 21st, June 21st is when we have our full moon.
Okay.
And on June 21st, the sun has moved into Cancer and the moon is in Capricorn.
Isn't that also the solstice?
The solstice.
So that's going to be quite the energy of full moon and a summer solstice all in one night.
Yeah. And remember, 3 days before up to 3 days after.
Yes.
So powerful energies. Cancer energy, where the sun is moving into Cancer, that's about home and family. But the moon energies of Capricorn, that's all about work and career. So you have these two very different parts of our lives coming into conflict. What if you have a wonderful work opportunity, but it means you have to miss your son's dance recital or your daughter's soccer game or your 25th wedding anniversary,
Yeah.
How do you balance that? How do you balance work-life needs? It's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's just that you have to find a way of juggling both of them.
Yeah.
So, you may be saying, no, I want to be home, and you're pulled at work, or you may be, oh, I've got this wonderful idea, or you may bring them together. Maybe you start some kind of business that is home-based, and you now work from home. Or you start to do something with that. Cancer is all about food. And I'm a Cancer sun sign. I love food. I'm a foodie. And so you may start to have different ideas about restaurants, cooking. Might be a time when you say, I'm going to go gluten-free. I'm going to eliminate sugar. I'm going to make some dietary changes. Yeah. Because one of the things that I like about Capricorn energy is Capricorn is disciplined. Gemini, not as disciplined as Capricorn.
I have to agree.
Capricorn says, I'm going to walk a mile a day. And we do.
Wow.
I'm sorry, what?
No, I said I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Because willpower is not my best friend.
Yeah, mine either.
I'm right on the cusp of Gemini and Taurus. So
I've got that Cancer energy. I do not have a lot of Capricorn energy in my chart. So I've got lots of good intentions and very little follow through. Not the best. But Capricorn gives us discipline. Capricorn says, I'm going to make a budget and I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to create this diet plan or food plan, and I'm going to stick to it. It's good for exercise. It's good for diet. It's good for whatever changes we want to make. Full moons are about releasing. New moons are about beginning. Think of a full moon. It's like that orb is full. It can't get any fuller. There's no room left for anything. We have to release it. So full moons are a time of letting go. What is it you want to let go of?
Mhm.
Maybe it's old pain, old wounds that still bother you. Maybe it's an attitude or an emotion. It's a great time to like have a garage sale, have a yard sale, clean out the house, clean out the attic. Oh, I don't need this anymore. Go through the closet, cold clothes you haven't worn in 2 years, out, start giving them away. It's a wonderful time for letting go. The question becomes, what is it you're ready to let go of?
I bet you that'd make a good time to have a garage sale. It's towards the
That'd
end
be
of
a great time. That would be a great time to have a garage sale.
purge, Yeah, I bet you everything would sell. So for people who need to purge out there, have your garage sales towards the end of June.
Have around a full moon because you're going to be ready to let go of everything.
Yeah.
You'll be ruthless in letting go of all this stuff. Of course, you've got some Cancer energy there, and Cancer is very sentimental. So Cancer has a hard time letting go of things.
Uh,
Oh, this is the first popsicle I ever ate,
yeah.
or I was 5 and it's all beaten up, but I'm going to keep it. Yeah, we have a big box of stuff we're ready to let go. By the time we're done, we have like one sheet of paper that we're ready to release.
Yeah.
Cancer is not good at letting go, but full
Ah,
moons are. So,
yeah.
especially if you struggle with this, use this energy in that way.
Mm,
It's a good time for standing up for yourself.
yeah.
I will say, and I'm not trying to put anything negative out there, but I do want people to kind of be aware. Full moons, think of the body, the physical body, and our fluid levels rise. So sometimes there's more water weight,
Mhm.
sometimes there's more inflammation in the body, sometimes the body hurts, old wounds start to act up. I've got a cousin who just had 2 knee replacements, and she's the one who's like, "Oh, it's going to rain. My knee is bothering me." She's got that little weather vane right there in the knee. So lots of times around full moons, we become more restless. Sleep becomes a little harder. You may say, "I don't know, I can't sleep." Check and see if it's near the full moon because they can interfere with our sleep patterns and our REM sleep.
Yeah. Very true.
It can often trigger migraines.
Mhm.
I don't get a lot of migraines, but sometimes a full moon will just trigger one. So we could be a little more headachy. We're not as patient. We could be a little more cranky. Our emotions, that moon is just brought to the surface. So think ahead of time. If I'm going to do ceremony work, and I don't know if you do a lot of ceremony work, I don't do a lot, but I do
Not a lot.
every once in a while. I
Yeah.
do some. If I'm going to do it, it's almost always at a full moon. Something about that full moon just pulls me to release whatever it is I need to let go of.
Yeah.
So it's a great time for doing whatever kind of ceremony work really speaks to your heart,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. I
Um,
agree with you.
and if you need to talk to your boss, it's good.
If what? Sorry?
If you need to talk to your boss, because that Capricorn energy, it's a good professional energy.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. So if you need to ask for a raise, that would be the time to do it?
That would be a time to do it, depending on what sign your boss is, but that might be a time to do it because Capricorn is going to help you look at not just that I deserve a raise, but Capricorn's very down to earth. So it's going to be, okay, well, I contributed this, this, and this during the year. I increased sales by X amount percent. I brought this kind of revenue to the company.
Mhm.
It's not just like, oh, I've been here a long time, give me more money.
Yeah.
It's here's the black and white of why this is beneficial to you as well as to me.
Very cool. Very cool. Because I was just having this discussion with one of my boys actually. So
Oh,
I'll
really?
yeah, totally. So I'll definitely relay that message because that's exactly what I told him. I'm like, get all your stuff, show them, how much the company has made since you went on there, and and show them what what you're putting in every day, and then ask for the raise. So I'll let him know it's a good time. It's a good time to do that.
What sign is he? If that's not too nosy to ask, or he would mind you telling me.
He is September 19th. That's
Okay, so he's a Virgo. So
Virgo.
he's pretty
Sign.
down to earth and detail oriented anyway.
Yeah,
You know,
yes,
so
he is. He is very, very much so. Yeah.
he's not going to have any trouble making that grid and that Excel spreadsheet and he can giving it to the boss.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. I'm I'm terrible when I'm embarrassing when it comes to, oh, what sign is this and this? I have no idea. When I say I know nothing about astrology, I mean it. Susan is the expert. I just remote view and psychically tune in. But yeah, that does sound like my son that you're describing. So it's
Yeah,
it's a good time.
I don't know if he's changed jobs or is thinking about changing jobs, but there's a lot of partnership energy around him. So he may be looking at who he partners with and is that partnership working? Now, when I use the word partnership, most people immediately start to think of a personal spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, and that's true. But a partnership is often us and our company,
Yeah.
us and who our boss is. There's all different kinds of partnerships. It could be us and the landlord,
Yeah.
us and you and your friends. That's a partnership kind of thing. So it's all these kinds of partnerships. And I don't know how old he is, but it looks like he's feeling very adult, very like, I can't mess around anymore.
Yes.
Almost I see him squaring his shoulders and I need to, put money in savings and have a 401k.
Oh, you're hitting the nail on the head. He's gonna have to watch this because you're hitting the nail on the head. He's trying to pull up his socks and be a big boy into the man now. And yeah, that's you totally hit the nail on the head with him. So yeah,
Isn't it nice for mom to see? I mean, that must be a really rewarding kind of moment for you as a mother to see him.
kid, all of my boys, I'm so blessed to have the children that I do. I really do feel very blessed because they're all good human beings and good pillars of society, that are gonna add to this world in such a beautiful way. So I'm a pretty proud mama. Um,
Uh,
but I don't want to make this video too personal or about me and go in.
But Virgos are watching, and the parents and the boyfriend and girlfriends and spouses of Virgos are watching. So
Yes.
that's in general for all Virgos looking at that,
Yeah.
But yeah.
But before, because we're almost getting there for time.
Oh my goodness.
More things. There's a couple more things that I wanted to that I really wanted to bring up was that I'm just looking at my notes and I do feel like there's going to be some negative information, or how do I say this? Because I guess you got to be careful what you say on YouTube and stuff. But I think that there's going to be sad news coming out of Buckingham Palace before the end of this year. Well, actually, even I think before winter.
Now, I agree with you. I have felt the same sad news coming out of Buckingham Palace, but I put it down more to next year.
Did you?
So my timing may be off. But
what time of year did you pick up? Do you remember?
I picked up in the first half of 2025, but I didn't go past that because it's one of those things, and you'll understand this, Patricia. I don't know how many people watch this will understand. Like I was concentrating on something else. I was working on a chart for a client, and boom, it's like something just crossed my field of vision. And you're sort of like, oh, what was that?
That was the Trudeau thing. That's exactly what the Trudeau hit was. So it's like, oh, if there's anything that I'm really hoping, that's right. It's that one. So it's the Trudeau one that I really, really hope. But yeah, I do. I feel like we're gonna get sad news coming out of there. But
do you think that sad news is about King Charles?
Yes. Yeah.
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
I have said all along.
Catherine as well. She doesn't feel right either. Like her life force energy feels really, really, really low. So whatever she's dealing with, she doesn't feel like she's out of the woods.
I don't think she is. This has been much, much more serious than what they're letting the public know.
Is she making public appearances? Like, I don't follow the news. I haven't turned on my TV really since the pandemic, like other than to watch a Netflix, movie or something.
She's out of the public eye right now, as far as I know. But that also feels right to me. It's like I don't think she's anywhere close to being ready to go back into public yet. And I don't think she's gonna be for a while.
Her energy her life force energy feels really dwindled. So
she's really scared. Which she's a fairly young woman. This is scary stuff. I can certainly understand that. The energy that I also I'm concerned about, although not physically, is Prince William, because his energy feels overwhelmed.
Yeah.
He's got a sick wife, an ill father, a brother that's out of the loop. He's sort of holding down the fort by himself. He's trying to be there for his children, and that feels overwhelmed. He feels overwhelmed and scared, and he's starting to think, oh my God, what if my father died and my wife died? I don't think she's dying. But our mind goes there. We think of those things.
Yeah, I don't feel her leaving this earth anytime soon.
I don't either.
But I do feel that she's going through one hell of a dark night of the soul stuff, where her life could be on the line, or the odds. But I see her getting better. So I really think that the shroud that I see over Buckingham Palace has more to do with Charles than it does with her.
I do too. For years, even before I met you, when I would be making predictions or something like that, I would say, I feel that Charles will inherit, but it's like a blip. It's like he inherits and then he doesn't really have a reign. And then the crown goes to William, and then William has a reign. So, and that seems to be what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't on the throne very long, like what, a year before he was diagnosed?
Yeah, how when did his mom die? I think not even a year when he was diagnosed, like from being king to now.
Yeah.
It's been less than a year. But yeah, that family is a whole episode onto itself that we could talk about, if things weren't being so censored. And that's the other thing I need to mention. I don't think people around the world, whether it's Canada, whether it's the US, understand what's happening in Canada right now. So Trudeau just brought in this massive online censorship law that if you've even said anything that they deem detrimental towards someone else, it doesn't matter if it was 10 years ago, they can go back through your social media, through your accounts, whatever, and charge you with a hate crime. So yeah, we really need to be careful with what we're saying here.
And what if you say my son-in-law's a bum? They can charge you with a hate crime?
Apparently. So I personally think that he's doing this so people can't criticize him as much anymore.
Yeah, you think.
Right? Exactly. Which it's like, okay, so how are we getting the truth out there? If we can't.
So is this something he's proposing, or is this something that is already a law?
He put it through. He put this censorship bill through. And so we really got, and not only that, we don't even have the news anymore on our Facebook and Instagram and anything like that, because Meta wouldn't pay Trudeau in order to, in order for the news to be on there. So unless we're actually turning on the news at 6 p.m., which I haven't in years, we really have no idea what's going on in the world. We really, really have no idea. So basically all of the information that I'm getting is me doing remote viewing to check up on countries and see, what's going on around the world.
Wow.
I wanted to say where I felt that remember I mentioned volcano, right? But I also feel like there's going to be an earthquake. It's not going to be the massive one, but I do feel in South America is where I picked that up, down there. So I think that there is going to be another earthquake. But again, I think that is the volatile energy coming up, being released, Mother Earth showing her presence, because we're just, the little bugs on her skin walking around that she can shake off at any moment. And it feels like that it's that kind of an energy. I think she's fed up with what we've been doing, but it's the energy of us. People need to come together. Governments need to get their heads out of their butts and stop wasting precious resources, time, people's lives, right? With all this war crap, because I've said it since 2020 that 2025 doesn't feel good. I've mentioned that
I agree with you.
Feel good to me. But where it starts to not feel good is actually towards the end of this year. And so even with me, I'm getting all my traveling done at the top end of the year, and I'm actually not even putting another retreat on the books for 2025 until I feel the temperature in about November. By October, November, December, I think I'll know exactly, or I should know exactly what I was saying at that time and see if it's actually coming down the pipes. Because the thing is that there's so many timelines at play right now. And when we do these predictions, this is what people need to understand. Things can change, timelines can shift, knowledge is power, right? And so when we do a prediction, we are picking up what the most concentrated, brightest energy is regarding that information, if that makes sense. It's what has the heaviest energetic imprint, but things can change. So I'm praying that it really does, that it does lift, that, that the war, even with Israel, Palestine, and now Iran and Ukraine and Russia, like, come on, guys. Come on, how many people need to die because of a president's ignorance, or people that, it's a pissing contest when it comes to wars. It really, really is. In this day and age, we would think that we know better by now, right? These are people's children's fathers, mothers. Like, it's just insane what's happening out there. And I've said it before, I'm worried that the US is going to get dragged into this big mess. And it just feels like the US is poking the bear when it comes to Iran and when it comes to Russia and China, because I do see Russia and China teaming up. I think I mentioned that last year. I saw that too. The two super.
I don't know that Russia and China together is something that I see happening until after Russia extricates themselves from Ukraine. It's sort of funny that Putin invaded Ukraine, thought it'd be a 21-day military thing and we're done. And yet it has backfired on him mightily. Like what now Finland and what has applied to join NATO, and countries that are close to Russia that were on the fence, not poking the bear, not applying to NATO. Now they're applying because of all the stuff that happened with Ukraine. It's sort of the same thing, something similar with Israel and Hamas, because now what, Spain and Sweden and someplace else, like 3 countries have just recognized Palestine that had not recognized Palestine before. And this is sort of the opposite of what Netanyahu wanted. And so when I start to pick up politics now, it's much more chess move, counter move. It gets so convoluted and so everything's underneath, and it's really dark. It's really uncomfortable to pick up. And part of me doesn't even want to go there or pick up anything. And part of me thinks, well, I need to know what's going on. So I gotta go there. But it's sort of what we are being reported to us is very surface level, very surface level. Yeah. And all the 2 steps later, we don't get.
Yeah, I don't think we have a clue what's really going on down there. And we're getting a fraction of truth when it comes to the stories we hear.
I will say, I think Netanyahu is on his way out. The country, when I see Israel, I see Netanyahu and then I see Israel. It's like they're not joined together. I don't think he has the support of most of the country.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, what do I know? I don't know. I've never even been to Israel. But intuitively, that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. Well, and intuitively, when I test the energy of Israel and the countries that are around it, or like, honest to God, I shouldn't even have an opinion about this because I don't know, other than what I've tuned into. I don't have a clue what's going on. So I don't want to pretend like I do, you guys. I'm definitely not a political expert in any way, shape, or form. But when I test the energy of the Israeli army, honestly, they feel unstoppable. They do. They feel huge. They know what they're doing. They're not stupid people. And they're just, I don't know, it just feels like, yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with Israel. I wouldn't want to mess with China. And I wouldn't want to mess with Russia. Those are the ones that they do. They feel they have got a massive, heavy presence or energy to them where they feel extremely powerful. So I don't know what it's going to take to stop what's coming. But I'm just praying that people make the right decision when it comes to their governments and, protect their people, but do it peacefully.
This is going to sound a little simplistic, but part of me longs for the old days when there was a good guy and a bad guy. And nowadays, there's no good guy, bad.
There isn't. I agree with you. You. War is just wrong. It's totally just wrong. So I'm praying that things, move in a peaceful direction. But the one thing that I do know is do not live in fear whatsoever. We're here for this time for a reason, right? God has put us on this earth, given us a mission to complete. And we just need to sit back and walk that journey, walk that path every day, and stand in our truth, speak our truth where we can, but also make this world a better place instead of feeding into the negativity and spreading the fear. So the last thing I want to do is spread fear in any way, shape, or form. It's just something that I observed when I was looking, okay, what's going on globally, and even with what I said about an earthquake and stuff, it's in the energy that I'm feeling that is going to take place in the area that feels like it's mounting in. So I can just feel a lot of fiery energy that it feels like it's coming this way and it feels like it's coming this way, like Mother Earth, from the pits of Mother Earth and all the way down from the ethers. So we just need to be hyper vigilant that we are not feeding into it and that we're staying in a state of peace at all times. That's my advice.
Absolutely. Agree with you 100%.
Let me just see if there was anything else that I wanted to say on here. Oh, okay. This is also something interesting to watch. May 24th, that WHO treaty was signed. Yeah, I believe it was. So that's the one, from my understanding. Please correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, in the comments. But from my understanding, that's basically where the WHO becomes king of the world and dictates to the countries how to handle a mass pandemic or big things like that. So that's a little bit scary when we're signing our sovereignty and our democratic rights away. I didn't think that was a very wise decision. So hopefully, we're not going to have some random virus hitting us again in 2025. But yeah, it's interesting to see where this world is going. Just people, if you don't know anything about Agenda 2030, look into it, please. Look into it. We need to have our eyes wide open.
It's a lot coming up, but I agree. We're born for this time. Yes. We're needed at this time. So don't ever think that your prayers, your thoughts, and your life doesn't matter to making the world a better place. It does matter.
100%. We're here to get lit, to find the others, and to wake them up as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Susan, for joining me again for our monthly tune-in. I love it. And hopefully this summer we will be together again in August doing a live together. I know, hopefully. Yeah. If the stars all align. Yeah, I'd really like that. So Susan, where can they find you if they want to get their astrology done with you?
If you want to get a reading, go to my website, www.exploreastrology.com. Even if you don't want to get a reading, every month I put out free predictions for every single sign. All 12 signs, you can find out what the month holds for you. So be sure to check it out. to look and see what is coming up for you in June.
Nice.
So that will be posted by June 1st. And every month I put out totally new predictions. And on my homepage, there's an explanation of your sign. So yes, I try to share as much as I can. So if you want to know what's going on, go take a look and find out.
And what's your website?
Exploreastrology.com.
Perfect. And I just wanted to mention to you guys that I'm having an amazing bucket list retreat in Sedona, Arizona, September 15th to the 20th. So check that out on my website. You can sign up, register, find out more information at www.patriciamonna.com. I also teach meditations and classes throughout the month, both online and in person. And so, yeah, check out both of our websites because Susan is amazing at what she does. And yeah, I just love doing this. Thanks, my dear. Thank you guys. God bless. Take care. And we will see you in July.
I'll see you next month. Bye.
See you guys. Bye for now.